Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. My name is Bennett Tchaikovsky, and welcome. This is our corporate governance series, and we're now going to be kind of taking a look here about corporate governance. I have made videos about this before, but this is more specifically geared towards my class that I'm teaching, or Accounting 262. So my disclaimer and copyright notice: the information and opinions in this presentation are those of myself and not my employers or affiliated organizations, including, but not limited to, Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is copyright 2008 to 2025 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any distribution is strictly prohibited. Note that the presentation will refer to companies and other parties. The author does not claim any copyright that belongs to those third parties. So, what exactly is corporate governance? It's really dictating in terms of how a corporation will go through and operate. When a corporation, in terms of, well, what is kind of the framework in which it operates? Corporation law is a matter of state law. Thing to remember here is that a company like Meta Platforms can be going through and operating it one Meta way in California, where their headquarters are, but their state of jurisdiction or incorporation will be in Delaware. Why do companies form in Delaware? Because the state law, the corporate law in Delaware, has been settled for many years. It is very favorable to corporations. In California, there are a lot of rights that affect less than 50%, or sometimes referred to as minority shareholders, that are not favorable to corporations. So when it comes to corporate law, many corporations will incorporate in Delaware. Now, I want to be very clear about this, though. If you're a one-person corporation, you're not planning on going public, you're using it to protect yourself, you do not need to incorporate in Delaware. Now, again, you want to talk about that to your attorney, because they may say, hey, look, being a Nevada corporation, being a Wyoming corporation is a great deal. Being a Texas corporation, got to talk with your attorney to see what makes the most amount of sense for you. But if you are going to be publicly traded, being in Delaware makes a lot of sense. So when we kind of go over here and kind of look at this, that corporation law is a matter of state law. Why do they form in Delaware? Again, if you're going to be raising money, if you're going to be going public, you want to be incorporated when you do it in Delaware or another state. Again, talk with your attorney or legal advisor about this. Incredibly important. And it is because the laws favor corporations. Now, in California, when a corporation forms, generally what's going to be filed with the Secretary of State is what is known as the Articles of Incorporation. And these Articles of Incorporation are going to be going through and listing out a few different things. So here we go. Thank you, Brave AI. To file Articles of Incorporation, you need to follow these steps and include specific information. What is your corporate name? I can't call myself the Walt Disney Company, or Walt will jump out of the grave and come after and find me, right? So can't call myself the Walt Disney Company. I have to make sure that whatever corporation I choose is available. The address of the corporation. Where can the corporation basically be found? My registered agent, right? Who is basically the registered agent for a service of process. If I'm going to sue somebody, that's who I have to kind of go through and find. My number of shares. How many shares is my corporation allowed to go through and to issue? I can change this later. If I only start with 100, I can later amend my Articles of Incorporation to increase this amount. Who is my incorporator? Person preparing the document. the purpose of the corporation. It's usually going to be to conduct any type of lawful activities. And then I have to go through and pay the filing fee. When I look at over here in terms of, I'll try to find this one. Okay, so here we go. So this is Facebook, previously known, or Meta Platforms, previously known as a Facebook. And this is kind of when they went through and amended their certificate of incorporation or their articles. That's called different things in different states. But again, you're kind of going through over here and telling the world what's going on with your corporation. So again, this is how, and you pay a fee, this is how you essentially become a corporation. Make sure you have an attorney do this for you. Also, if you are a privately held company and you're going, God, I froze on that one. That looks beautiful. If you're a privately held company, you need to remember, I guess I'm not coming back on again. You need to kind of remember that, well, if you've watched the movie The Social Network, in that movie, there was a nasty shareholder dispute between Mr. Saverin and Mr. Zuckerberg and the Winklevoss twins. Sounds like the Wonder Twins. But that whole movie could have been avoided had there been proper corporate documents drafted up. And more importantly, if there were articles of incorporation, excuse me, if there were what is known something as a buy, sell, or a business buyout agreement. That is one of the most important documents because if you're forming a corporation, one of your fellow corporate members can get up and run away with your shares. The only way you're going to be able to stop them is basically through a buy sell. I have a video on that. I will put that in the link below. Other things in terms of going through and operating as a corporation, I have to go through and file meeting minutes. This is going to be an annual requirement, just basically says that we met together as a board. There is also something called a statement of information. Pulled this one up from Alex Izzy Realty. They're no longer around, but they were at one point in time. When you file a statement of information, this is letting the world know publicly who the CEO, CFO, secretary are, corporate addresses of all the directors, agent for service of process, and the type of business that is being involved. When you become a corporation, you have to go through and share this with the world. So coming over here, in terms of tax filings, remember when you become a corporation, you then have to file corporate tax returns for both state and federal. You may also have to file returns even in states that you're not necessarily doing business in. Again, you need to check with your tax attorney, your accountant, or other advisors. So when you incorporate, there's a lot of stuff going on. But again, it's important that you understand this prior to going into this. But again, if you're going to ultimately become public, very, very important process. So how does a corporation really function? Well, a corporation is formed. It has one director, right? It might have one shareholder. The shareholders elect a board of directors. And basically, one person can do all of these functions. Or if you are a publicly traded company, again, this is going to depend upon how the bylaws are written. You're going to have at least 3 independent directors if you are publicly traded. So these are kind of things that are incredibly important in terms of kind of going through and looking at this. We're going to talk about the independence issues on the next video, but how does a corporation work? Corporation is formed. It's owned by the shareholders. The shareholders don't run the day-to-day, though. They may if there's only one person on each one, but the shareholders elect a board of directors. Board of directors make 2 critical hires, a CEO, chief executive officer, and a CFO, or a chief financial officer. They run the corporation. They hire the assistants. They hire the operations manager. They hire the people. And then that's how the corporation operates. But the board of directors is going to provide oversight to that CEO and CFO. They're going to determine the compensation of that CEO and CFO, and the board of directors have to approve certain different types of transactions. So when we look at what type of corporate governance is basically required, I'm going to include this link below. This is something that's put out by the NASDAQ, and they kind of go through the different types of items that a corporation is required to have when it comes to certain board committees. If I am publicly traded and I am listed on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, I have to meet certain government requirements, which will basically include adopting a code of ethics, having an audit committee, having a compensation committee, having a nominating and corporate governance committee. Additionally, we may have other different types of committees that will be coming up. And for example, Facebook, Meta Platforms, Meta Platforms may have, because of a lot of issues they've had in the past in terms of privacy, they have a privacy basically committee on their board of directors because it's a huge issue for Meta Platforms to make sure about the privacy of their users. So when we look at this from there's a minimum. If you're going to be publicly traded and you want to be listed on one of these stock exchanges, you have to have certain committees. But if I am only a one-person corporation, I only really need to have the bylaws, the audit committee, the compensation committee, nominating corporate governance committee. These generally can be, those have to be done along with a code of ethics. Those are required for publicly traded companies. But again, if I am that are listed on senior exchanges, but when we are just kind of going through and starting out, we just really need to have the bylaws. Again, this is going to tell us how that corporation is going to operate. So I want to thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, leave comments below. I will make sure that if I've put up any links on this video, I will be including them below so you can kind of check these out on your own. I would also really recommend to you is that when you're going through and learning about corporate governance, everything I'm going to be showing you on these video series are publicly available. You want to kind of learn by going through and looking at what's actually out there. Go through and read a real contract. Go through and look at real documents. There's only so much you can really learn from a textbook, and so hopefully this helps. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.